The hospital lights hummed softly, never blinking, never sleeping. Outside, rain tapped the windows like nervous fingers. Inside room 314, Mara lay still, staring at the ceiling as if it held answers. She had waited 15 years for this night. 15 years of empty cribs, silent birthdays, and prayers whispered so often they lost their sound. Doctors had promised her hope, then took it back with gentle voices and sad eyes. But tonight was different. Tonight she was in labor. Tonight she believed. Pain came in waves, sharp and burning. She screamed, not caring who heard. She was not afraid of pain. She was afraid of loss. Hours passed. Nurses moved quickly. Machines beeped. Then suddenly everything went quiet. A cry filled the room. Mara laughed through tears. Baby. Alive. Warm. Real. But the nurse's smile faded too fast. There's another, she said softly. They laid the second baby beside the first. This one did not move. Did not cry. Did not breathe. The room felt colder. Mara reached out with shaking hands. No, she whispered. Please. I can't do this again. Her heart pounded so hard she thought it might break her ribs. She clutched the sheets, begging the walls, the ceiling, anyone listening. Outside the door, a doctor stopped walking. And listened. Mara did not sleep. She sat upright in the hospital bed, holding the living baby close while staring at the other bundle resting in silence. One warm. One cold. One breath. One stillness. It did not make sense to her. How can one live and one not? She asked the nurse, her voice small. They were together. The nurse did not answer. She only squeezed Mara's shoulder and left the room. Mara's thoughts ran wild. She remembered every loss. Every test. Every funeral for a dream that never grew. She remembered how her house sounded, too quiet, too empty. I can't bury another child, she whispered. Tears soaked her gown. She rocked back and forth like she used to do when grief became too heavy to hold still. The baby in her arms slept peacefully, unaware of the storm around him. A doctor entered quietly. She was older, with tired eyes and lines carved deep into her face. She did not rush. She did not speak right away. I've seen your file, the doctor said gently. I know how long you waited. Mara looked up sharply. Then you know I won't survive this. The doctor said nothing. Outside, thunder rolled low and slow. Somewhere else in the hospital, another woman had given birth. And fate waited. Down the hall, in room 322, a different kind of silence filled the air. Two babies lay in bassinets side by side. Identical. Pink-cheeked. Breathing softly. They looked like reflections in a mirror. Their mother sat stiffly on the bed, arms crossed. She did not smile. She did not reach out. I told them I couldn't handle this, she said flatly to no one in particular. One was already too much. The nurse shifted uncomfortably. They're healthy boys, she said. Both of them. The woman looked away. I didn't ask for two. The doctor from room 314 stood quietly in the doorway. She watched the baby sleep. She listened to the mother's sharp sighs and careless words. One child stirred. The other stretched a tiny hand, touching nothing. The doctor felt something twist inside her chest. She thought of Mara's shaking hands. Her desperate eyes. Her voice breaking like thin glass. She thought of the oath she had taken years ago. To do no harm. To protect life. But what was harm? And what was mercy? The rain hit the windows harder now. The doctor made a decision she would replay for the rest of her life. Hospitals are built on rules. Forms. Charts. Wristbands. Names written in careful ink. That night the rules bent. The doctor moved quietly, her footsteps soft against the floor. She carried one of the twins, wrapped tight and sleeping peacefully. No alarms sounded. No one stopped her. Room 314 felt heavy with grief. Mara looked up, eyes red and swollen. Please, she whispered. I'll do anything. The doctor swallowed. She placed the living baby gently into Mara's arms. Warm. Breathing. Real. Mara gasped. He's alive, the doctor said softly. You have a son. Mara sobbed, clutching the baby to her chest. She kissed his forehead again and again, afraid he might disappear. Behind the doctor, another bundle lay still. White cloth. Silent weight. The doctor signed papers with shaking hands. Names were switched. Numbers rewritten. Truth folded away like a secret letter never meant to be read. As dawn broke, Mara slept for the first time in days, smiling through tears. The doctor stood alone in the hallway, staring at her reflection in the glass. She had saved one life. And stolen another. The sun rose pale and weak over the hospital parking lot. Mara walked slowly, holding her baby close. She named him Eli. The name felt right. Strong. Gentle. Her house did not feel empty anymore. Eli grew quickly. He laughed loudly. He slept curled against her chest. At night, Mara watched him breathe, counting each rise and fall, afraid the past might return. Across the city, another child grew up with a twin-shaped space beside him. He did not know what was missing, only that something was. The doctor returned to work. She smiled. She healed. She signed charts. But she did not sleep well. Every year on Eli's birthday she felt sick. Every time she passed room 314 her chest tightened. She avoided mirrors. Secrets do not rot quietly. They grow. And one day they demand to be seen. Mara's house learned noise. It learned the sharp cry of a hungry baby, the thump of small feet learning to walk, and the sound of laughter bouncing off walls that had once held only silence. Eli filled every room as if he had always belonged there. Mara told him stories every night. Stories about brave boys and lost stars. She told him he was a miracle, and she meant it with her whole heart. Still, fear followed her like a shadow. She checked Eli's breathing while he slept. She jumped at every cough. At night, she sometimes dreamed of white blankets and cold rooms. She never spoke of the twin who did not live. That pain stayed locked inside her. Eli grew into a curious child. He asked many questions. "Why don't I have a dad?" he asked once. Mara smiled tightly. "Because I wanted you more than anything," she said. And it was true. Across town, another house held two children, one loud, one quiet. The quiet one often stared at empty corners as if waiting for someone who never came. Neither boy knew the other existed. But something invisible stretched between them, thin and strong, like a thread that refused to break. Jonah always felt different. He could not explain it. He was not sick. He was not sad exactly. He just felt unfinished, like a puzzle missing a piece no one could find. He grew up with his twin brother, Noah, who was bold and fast and never afraid. Jonah followed behind, careful and quiet, watching more than speaking. Sometimes Jonah woke at night with a strange ache in his chest. Other times he felt happy for no reason at all, like someone else's joy had brushed against him. "Stop being weird," Noah told him once. Jonah nodded and said nothing. At school teachers mixed them up often. Jonah did not mind. But once, when he looked in a mirror beside Noah, he felt dizzy. "Do you ever feel like something's missing?" Jonah asked. Noah laughed. "You're standing right here." Jonah wanted to believe him. Far away, Eli stared into a mirror too, tracing his own face. He felt comforted by it, yet uneasy, as if the reflection was almost right, but not complete. Both boys carried the same face. And the same unanswered question. The doctor aged faster than time. Her hair grayed early. Lines deepened around her mouth. She became known as careful, quiet, and distant. Patients trusted her. Colleagues respected her. But at night she dreamed of twins. She dreamed of hands reaching out, of papers bleeding ink, of a baby crying somewhere she could never reach. She followed Eli's life from afar. School plays, soccer games, birthday parties she never attended. Each year she told herself she would confess. Each year she didn't. "You did the right thing," she whispered to her reflection. "You saved a child." The reflection never answered. When Jonah and Noah were teenagers, the doctor noticed Jonah's name in a medical file. Her hands froze. Same birthday. Same hospital. Her chest tightened. The past, buried for 20 years, had begun to breathe. Eli was 16 when he started asking harder questions. "Why don't I look like anyone else in the family?" he asked one evening. Mara's hands shook as she washed dishes. "You look like me," she said too quickly. Eli studied her face. "A little," he said. "But not really." Silence stretched between them. That night Eli searched through old boxes. He found hospital papers folded carefully away. Dates. Signatures. A name crossed out and written again. Something felt wrong. At the same time, Jonah found a letter in a drawer that was not meant for him. It spoke of confusion at the hospital, of mistakes that never sat right. The same unease crept into both boys' hearts. Truth has a sound. It starts as a whisper. And once you hear it, it never stops calling your name. Eli and Jonah dreamed the same dream that night. They stood in a long white hallway. One ran forward. One ran behind. No matter how fast they moved, they could not reach each other. They woke with racing hearts. The next morning, a DNA testing booth appeared at the mall, bright and cheerful. Eli walked past it, then stopped. Jonah did the same miles away. Both turned back. Some threads are pulled by chance. others by fate. The email arrived at the same time for both boys. Eli was doing homework when his phone buzzed. Jonah was lying on his bed, staring at the ceiling. Neither expected much. Both froze when they read the words. Close family match detected. Eli reread the message 3 times. His heart beat so hard it hurt. Jonah sat up slowly. That's not possible, he whispered. They scrolled. Same birth year. Same hospital. Same city. Identical DNA. Eli felt dizzy. Mom, he called out, but his voice sounded far away. Jonah felt cold. He thought of every moment he had felt every strange ache he never understood. The testing company suggested contact. Neither boy slept that night. Some truths do not arrive gently. They crash. Mara knew before Eli spoke. Mothers feel things before words exist. When Eli showed her the email, her face drained of color. Her hands trembled as she read. The room felt smaller, tighter, as if the walls were closing in. Tell me the truth, Eli said. All of it. Mara opened her mouth, closed it. Tears slid down her face. I was afraid, she whispered. She told him about the delivery, about the still bundle, about waking up with a living child and choosing not to ask questions. I loved you, she said. I still do. Eli stood very still. Love, he realized, could be built on a lie. And lies, no matter how gentle, always collect interest. They met in a quiet cafe halfway between their homes. Eli arrived first. When Jonah walked in, it felt like looking into a mirror that breathed. They stared. You're real, Jonah said. So are you, Eli replied. They talked for hours. Same habits. Same fears. Same laugh. Same face. Something inside them settled, even as everything else broke apart. I think, Jonah said slowly, someone decided our lives for us. Eli nodded. Neither knew yet how deep that decision went. The doctor watched the news report in silence. 2 identical young men. Same birthday. Same hospital. Her hands shook. She had known this day would come. She had imagined it 100 times. Still, nothing prepared her for the sound of her own heartbeat pounding in her ears. She called a lawyer. Then she called the hospital. Then she sat alone in the dark. Mercy had felt right at the time. Now it felt heavy. When the truth came out, it came fast. Records were reopened. Staff questioned. DNA confirmed. The story spread, quiet at first, then loud. The doctor was arrested. Her license was taken away. In court, she said only one thing. I was trying to save someone. The judge did not argue. Saving one life had shattered many others. Eli and Jonah sat together in the courtroom. They did not hold hands. They did not look away. They were finally whole. But whole did not mean unbroken. The world felt different after the truth came out. People stared when Eli and Jonah walked together. Strangers whispered. News vans waited outside their houses. The story no longer belonged to them. Mara stopped answering the phone. She sat at the kitchen table, staring at the same spot on the wall for hours. When Eli spoke, she listened, but her eyes stayed distant. I didn't mean to hurt you, she said again and again. Eli wanted to forgive her. He wanted things to go back to how they were. But time does not move backward. Jonah's family argued late into the night. His parents blamed the hospital, blamed the doctor, blamed each other. No one blamed Jonah. Yet he felt the weight anyway. Truth does not just reveal itself. It changes the shape of everything it touches. The doctor's cell was small and quiet. She sat on the narrow bed, hands folded, listening to the sounds of doors locking and unlocking. For the first time in years, there was nothing she could fix. She thought of Mara's tears, Eli's laugh, Jonah's quiet eyes. I thought I was choosing kindness, she whispered to the empty room. The walls did not answer. At night, she dreamed of holding 2 babies and waking with none. Mercy had a cost, and she was paying it one day at a time. Eli and Jonah met often now. Sometimes they talked for hours. Sometimes they sat in silence, letting the shared space speak for them. They learned what they had missed. Eli told Jonah about bedtime stories and soccer games. Jonah told Eli about having a twin who never quite fit the space he filled. You had a mom who wanted you, Jonah said once. And you had a brother, Eli replied. They smiled, but the sadness lingered. They were not replacing each other. They were learning how to stand side by side. Mara wrote a letter to Jonah. She rewrote it many times. I am sorry felt too small. I loved him felt wrong. In the end, she wrote the truth. I was afraid. I was broken. I made a choice I should not have made. Jonah read the letter slowly. He did not hate her. But forgiveness did not arrive all at once. Some things need time. The trial ended quietly. The doctor went to prison. The news moved on. But for the people left behind, healing was slow and uneven. Eli and Jonah stood together one evening, watching the sun dip below the city. "We're here," Jonah said. "Together," Eli answered. The thread that had stretched between them all these years finally loosened. Not gone. Just easier to carry. Mara visited the prison once. She almost turned back at the gate. The air felt heavy, like it knew why she was there. When she finally sat across from the doctor, neither woman spoke at first. "You gave me my son," Mara said at last. "I took someone else's," the doctor replied. They looked at each other, two women tied together by one terrible night. "I loved him," Mara said. "I know," the doctor whispered. That was all. Some apologies are not meant to fix things, only to be said. Eli and Jonah did not try to become one life. They built two. Sometimes they argued. Sometimes they laughed too hard at the same joke. Sometimes they stood apart, needing space. But they showed up. Birthdays were shared now. So were memories, new and old. When someone asked if they were twins, Eli smiled. "Yes," he said. "We just met late." Years passed. The hospital renovated the wing where it all began. New paint. New machines. New doctors who never knew the story. But people still whispered. They called it a tragedy. A miracle. A crime. Some called it mercy. The truth was quieter than all of that. It was a story about fear, love, and the choices people make when they believe there is no other way. The doctor marked days on the wall of her cell. Mara learned to sleep through the night. Eli and Jonah stood taller, stronger, carrying both loss and connection. No one was the same. But they were still here. Sometimes that is enough. They say hospitals remember everything. And maybe they do. But people remember more. This is what the story leaves behind. Love does not erase wrongdoing. Mercy does not cancel truth. And even the kindest lie can grow into a heavy shadow. But truth, when it finally comes, can make room for healing. Not perfect. Not easy. Just real.